So I've had this Noctua NH-D15 CPU cooler installed and running on my systems for several months now. I've rendered videos, played games, and I've just generally used my computer, I guess. So how does this air cooler stack up to the rest of the air coolers I've used in the past? Let's review this thing and get down to it. So yeah, it's been on my computer for maybe like 6 months now. It's just finally getting to it. So sorry about the review taking so long to get to, but it's an awesome CPU cooler, and let's get into this. If you guys want to see my unboxing first though, check it out somewhere over there. It's pretty cool. The unboxing is actually pretty impressive with the CPU cooler. Bunch of fans and bunch of special mounting hardware and stuff. So check it out if you're interested with all that stuff. So to start off, I use this air cooler with my AMD FX 8350, which is an 8-core clocked at 4 GHz, and it has a TDP of 125 watts. If you're using an Intel CPU, it's probably going to have a lower TDP, and thus it'll create less heat. So the figures that I say might actually be less for you, or I guess more for you, obviously, if you're overclocking, you know. But first, before you even get to enjoy this little puppy, you have to install it. Typically installing a huge ass CPU cooler like this one, I mean this one's just enormous, it's usually pretty tedious as hell. But installation with this CPU cooler really isn't too bad at all. I actually have an installation video if you want to check it out if you really have no idea how to install CPU coolers. But like in that video, I installed a Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo, which is actually a really good CPU cooler, but the installation is just pretty tedious. It's not tedious at all with this. It's actually a pretty great process, and kudos to Noctua for doing that. You'll probably not get pissed off your computer while installing the CPU cooler, which is actually pretty rare. I will mention quickly, however, the backplate that Noctua gives you is actually only compatible with Intel CPUs. So if you have AMD, you're actually told by Noctua to use the backplate that came with your like motherboard, probably not your CPU, probably your motherboard. Like for my case, I actually didn't have any idea where it was. I had to go find it. And Noctua will give you a backplate for your AMD processors if you don't have one. But, I mean, come on, it's a $100 CPU cooler. Why doesn't it come with both AMD and Intel backplates? Even if they're separate. I mean, this is an expensive CPU cooler. Cheaper CPU coolers come with backplates for both CPUs. So Noctua, I expect a new AMD CPU backplate with this CPU cooler. That's bullshit. Now, I already mentioned this, but this CPU cooler is like fucking huge. Honestly, if you don't have a full-size case, I really can't suggest this CPU cooler. I mean, it's ridiculous. This thing barely fits into my like mid-size-ish tower. I think this is a Cooler Master Elite something. It's not a big case, but like I had to remove my side fan to be able to fit the CPU cooler in there, and still like the CPU cooler kind of bumps up against my door. So if you have a smaller desktop, look elsewhere, because it's not going to fit in there. This model was also designed to accommodate RAM that's a little bit taller, but I would still kind of lean towards using low profile memory. If you do have any issues with the memory, you can always just use one of the 2 fans that Noctua gives you, but then you're also kind of hurting performance. So in my opinion, if you're getting this CPU cooler, I would just stick with low profile memory. It's still going to work just fine for you, and you're just not going to have as many troubles. Okay, so that CPU cooler is finally installed after all that work. Now, how about those temperatures? So with my AMD FX 8350, I'm running it at stock speeds, no overclocking, but that said, this is still a pretty hot CPU, so it should be able to test it pretty nicely. And by the way, I also have my fans set to silent within the BIOS because I like my computer to be pretty quiet. So if I turn the fans up more, obviously the computer will be cooler, but I'm sacrificing a little bit of heat for my ears. At idle, just like any other CPU cooler, the temperatures vary quite a bit, but if I'm not using like anything at all on the computer, it'll run about 10 degrees Celsius, which is definitely pretty good. Compare that to like the AMD stock cooler that I was running a while back, and I was getting like 30 degrees Celsius, or 30 degrees Celsius at idle. So definitely a good improvement there. But of course, the real improvement you'll notice is whenever you're playing games and all that cool stuff. Gaming, the CPU did get a little bit hotter as expected, but it kind of topped out around like 40 degrees Celsius, even like at 4K and stuff like that. So that's pretty damn great. But you know, rendering videos is the true test for a CPU cooler, and thankfully, I guess I do quite a bit of that, so that's pretty cool. It kind of works out nicely. The CPU does get pretty hot, but it actually really doesn't get too hot, even if my room is pretty toasty, which in the summer right now, it kind of gets. So about 50 degrees Celsius is really where the CPU maxes out, and that's really only at peak idle times. So that's not really too bad at all, especially considering that it's 4 gigahertz, 8 cores, so it's not really an easy task to keep cool. And by the way, during that whole time, the fans didn't ramp up at all in my CPU cooler. It stayed completely silent, which is just excellent. In fact, I might try to record a little bit of my computer, like the noise coming off it. The sad thing is actually like my power supply, which is actually still pretty good, is actually probably a little bit louder than anything else in my system. Graphics card fans don't spin whenever they're idle, and my power supply, I guess, pretty much is the only thing besides the case fans and the CPU cooler. And all those are Noctua, so Noctua fans are just inherently very quiet, and my power supply is honestly a little bit louder than that, which is pretty crazy. So the CPU cooler is damn quiet. I mean, that's what Noctua does best. But you know what else Noctua does really well? Making fans that look like total fucking shit. I mean, literally, look at the color of these fans. What is that color? It's shit. Actually, I said in my unboxing that has shades of baby shit brown and just regular shit brown. It's all just shit brown. I don't know why Noctua loves that color, but they do. You know, sadly though, I will take ugly aesthetics over being very loud. Personally, I don't really care about aesthetics too much. It kind of, you know, it kind of grows on you after a while. It looks stupid, but it grows on you after a while. And the fact that it's silent kind of makes up for it, in my opinion. Might not work out for you too well if you really care about aesthetics more than I do. But, you know, I think it looks okay, I guess. I don't know why Noctua loves shit brown. Noctua, why do you love shit brown? What's up with that? Overall, this CPU cooler is terrific. It's quiet as hell, it keeps your CPU cool as hell, and the fans honestly look like hell. A lot of hell going on. But that's just what you get with Noctua. I mean, the CPU cooler is balls to the walls awesome. It's cool as hell, it's big as hell, and it just works awesome. So if you guys want probably the best CPU cooler air-wise on the market, then this is probably what you want to get. It's expensive and it looks weird, but it's definitely worth it in my opinion. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Hopefully you found it enjoyable. If you did, drop a like on the review and let me know what you thought about it in the comments section. If you think this Noctua cooler looks cool or stupid, or if you just think, hey, if it works good, who cares? Like to hear what you guys say about that. And sorry it took me so long to get to it, just lots of shit going on. But thank you guys for checking out this review. I think it's MX versus ATX. MX versus ATX Supercross. It's actually some Gaming News with Pope GP or gameplay that I recorded, but I haven't used yet. So thank you guys for checking out this review. Drop a like on it if you thought it was cool, like I said before, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.